starting the recording. And now, let me just, yeah, we are recording. And I still have to admit people who are joining, so, okay. Sorry about this. Good. So this is our first lecture. It's now recorded. We are not supposed to swear or anything anymore. So only nice words, beautiful words, things that you want to say have to be polite. But I would like to ask you all, because I have to manually approve everybody, to please try to join on time, because if I have to constantly admit everybody well into the lecture, then I can never start. So, because I have the option to admit all, but that assumes that everybody joined online. Dunja has a question, it seems. You'll raise your hand. So, Dunja.
Yes, da li me čujete?
Da, čujem vas.
Profesor, ja se izvinjavam, spomenuli ste beleške neke i sad mi ne možemo, imamo mi neki naš chat i ne možemo da skontamo gde to možemo da radimo.
Pa ja imam aplikaciju, Microsoft Teams, tako da je to malo drugačije, ali ajde, evo, probamo zajedno da shvatimo. Mislim, ja ih vidim, ali trenutno ne mogu da ih vidim jer prezentujem. Mislim, dok nisam počeo da prezentujem, ali recimo, ako imate aplikaciju, ajde da pokažem, sekundica, ajde neki drugi ekran da podelim s vama. Evo da vidite moj ekran. Znači, ako ja odem sad u ovaj meeting, ovako izgleda meeting, znači ja vas, verovatno i kod vas, znači imate ove 3 tačkice, imate meeting notes i unutar meeting notes svako od vas sad ima pravo da hvata beleške i ako zajedno hvatate beleške, možete neviđeno lepo da uhvatite sve i da posle ne morate da hvatate nikakve dodatne beleške. Sad samo da vidim, neko se još priključio. Evo ga. Ok, eto to. Ne, ok, neću sad da vas mutujem, samo se vi sami mutujte. Luka, te dobro. Izvinjavam se, vidite, ovo je mehanički problem, ali ja ne mogu da predajem dok ovo sve ne odradim. Okay, let's go back to my presentation. So here we are, the English language. No, somebody's joining again. Okay, just a second. Okay, we'll start in 5 minutes because we cannot really, I mean, if I have to constantly admit people, so I cannot present actually properly. Please, for the next time, this doesn't refer to everybody, but please try to join online on time, because we will waste 10 or 15 minutes just approving attendees. So now I'll try to present. Okay. You heard the lecture that we had on Tuesday, either with me or Olga, so we will cover in this course only 3 topics: basic concepts in grammar, verb phrase, and the noun phrase. And unfortunately, if you looked at our schedule, I don't know, I have it on the other screen, you should be able to see it. So this is not optimal. Because of Corona, we have not 15 weeks, which is a normal duration of the semester. We only have 11 weeks. and we finish a day before Christmas. So the last class is on December the 24th, just one day before the red dates. You see, this is our first class, and now we actually finish on the 24th. So that's why we have to rush, and that's why it's not entirely cool for me to spend some time admitting people when I should be lecturing. I think that there's nobody now in the virtual lobby anymore. So without much further ado, we have to be efficient. And when it comes to the syllabus, this course will teach you, as I mentioned, essential concepts in grammar. So these essential concepts are crucial because you have to know terminology. So in order to be an expert is somebody who knows what he's talking about. So you are future experts in English language. So you need to know terminology and concept, but we will do it only in the traditional sense, not in the sense that we are conservative and we think that, you know, people should be dressed like in the 18th century. We are traditional in the sense that we are neutral. We don't care about the theoretical approach to grammar, whether you are a generative linguist like Chomsky, a cognitive grammarian, counter Chomsky, probabilistic grammarian, or some other theory on grammar. We don't care. We actually deal only with the things that can be described. So we don't try to analyze them and to explain them. That's why this is a basic course. And this is why it is so important, because the terminology you get here is the terminology you will use throughout your working lives, wherever you are, whether it's in teaching, science, marketing, whatever. Let me explain the importance of terminology. This is Moses. If you know the Bible, he's asking the Israelites to follow him to Canaan, the promised land. Now, if you were the Israelite, and if Moses asked you to follow him, and he said that in more or less the following way: I will take you to the land flowing with mammary secretions and insect vomit. Will you really follow him? I'm pretty sure that you will not like to go to the land of mammary secretions and insect vomit. But if you will hear that he will take you to the land flowing with milk and honey, then I'm pretty sure that it sounds much better. And that's the power of terminology. Milk is a mammary secretion. I know it sounds disgusting, but it is. Milk is a mammary secretion. So you have to use the proper terms. Insect vomit, if the insect is a bee, then it has to be honey, and that is terminology. So in this course, among other things, you will learn the right terminology so that it doesn't happen to you to ever have to describe, and then you end up in a situation like in this slide that I'm creating. So grammar is this part of the lecture, and the first part of the course is about things that are fundamental. And now I don't want to come off as, rude or offensive, but I really have to say, if you are joining now, that's not polite. That's really not polite, because I have to admit everybody manually. So please join on time. If I have to constantly switch between 5 windows, I cannot work. I cannot teach, and the recording will be terrible. So, for example, Milica, who just joined. Milica, please, for the time being and in the future, join on time. I have to manually approve everybody. And if I have to click 75 times in a window, then I I simply don't have time for the lecture. So please join on time. And then I have a wonderful button, admit all. And then you immediately join, all of you. So if you're waiting in a virtual lobby and we start, okay, we can start a couple of minutes later, let's say 3 or 4, but please just, join a little bit earlier. So back to the fundamental concept in grammar. So that's why we are doing this. We are doing it for grammar, because knowing terminology is the difference between knowing your SHIT or knowing you are SHIT. So you either know your stuff or you're nobody. The course materials will be uploaded to our website, and the site is functional, still almost empty, but the stuff will be uploaded every week. And you already have there in the Google Drive, you have the lecture that we presented on Tuesday, the short intro lecture with obligatory reading materials and everything. And now let's cut to the real thing. Before we say anything else in this course, we have to understand what grammar is. If you look it up in a dictionary, they will tell you that grammar is a study of relationships in a language, or in language without an article, because then language is like our cognitive ability. But what is language actually? In order to, fully understand what grammar is, you have to understand what role it plays in language. And language, if somebody wants to say maybe something now, is a good moment. Somebody can unmute and maybe provide a definition, working definition of language. Dunja, okay, Dunja.
It's the best way for people to communicate.
Good, good. Only humans. So there's also somebody else. That's Mina. Mina,
It's the system of signs that we use to communicate to each other.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the best way for humans to communicate, a system of signs. Okay, Mina, thank you, and Dunja, thank you. You are all right. You are both right, actually. But this is not the whole story. Language is this, but even more than that. Let me show why. You probably know these guys. On the right-hand side, you have Jimmy Kimmel. And of course, to the left side, you have Matt. You know that Jimmy and Matt don't like each other. So if you see this photo, you will immediately say, okay, what is this photo about? If I ask you like something like that, you will say, well, Matt is eating an apple next to Jimmy. But what really happened there, when you it's very natural to us, but it's almost magical if you think about what's really happening. So what really happened is that you looked at the photo, then your brain, actually not the language part of the brain, the other part of the brain, it simply blurred the background to focus on what's really important. So the background is not important. I have two human beings. Okay, let me try to recognize these human beings. So at this point, your brain is forgetting about the body shape, etc. It's focusing on the faces. And then your brain starts analyzing the faces and partially the posture and says, okay, so this thing here, this thing here is, I'm supposed to write here something now, but I cannot, unfortunately, because my pen is not working. I have a digital pen, but it's not functional. But for example, here, what you could write, I can try writing, but it will be terrible. Just give me a second. So what you can do here is say something like, human, right? And here you can say, okay, this is inanimate. This is not alive. Sorry, that's because my pen is not working. I'll try to fix that for the next class. Then for Jimmy, again, you would say human, and then you will say bearded, and your brain analyzes all the features so that ultimately, you know, your brain analyzes. So this is circular, it's not alive, it's red, it's being eaten, seems to be healthy. And then your brain actually says, okay, this is an apple. And then when you do that, your brain goes on and analyzes something else. And in this case, for example, you can analyze, you know, Matt Damon and say, okay, that's a human, male, middle-aged, famous, shaven, that's Matt. And then, you know, you look at Jimmy and you say, okay, bearded, famous, hosted Oscars, made a blunder with the final movie, hates Matt. Oh, that's Jimmy. And this is what happens. So if you think about it, what your brain is doing is exactly like Matrix. So you are analyzing everything you see, and your brain analyzes every little feature and tells you that what you're looking at is a tree, the computer screen, a slide, a green screen that your teacher is presenting. So where is the language here? So you have the outside world, and you analyze, your brain analyzes these things. It's animate, human, famous, shaven, that's Matt. Animate, human, famous, bearded, that's Jimmy. Inanimate, plant-based, ball-like red, that's an apple. Moving jaws, activity, up and down, open mouth. Okay, that's actually eating. So from the outside world, part of your brain does this feature mapping. It analyzes everything you see, everything you hear, and classifies it so that you have concepts. And those concepts then get labeled. So this becomes Matt Damon, this becomes Jimmy Kimmel, this becomes an apple, this becomes the verb to eat. And then comes language. So these concepts appear even in animals. So even animals have, let's say, signals that they can use to, let's say, warn other animals in the herd that, I don't know, a tiger is coming. Some monkeys have distinct sounds for a tiger and a leopard, for example. And if the monkey screams, eh, it's, I don't know, a tiger. And if it says, then it's maybe like a leopard. But what we can do is we can express more than just these concepts. Even very primitive animals are aware that something big, furry with teeth is dangerous and that it's, let's say, that animal's concept of a tiger. What we can do is we can combine all of this and bind it with a verb and create a sentence. Matt is eating an apple next to Jimmy. And when I said that this was magical, it is magical because it takes us only a fraction of a second to do this. And if you think about it, a language is one of the most magical things you have generally as, you know, a phenomenon on this planet. Because if you think about it, what's happening right now is that my thoughts are now in your heads. And when you answer back to me, your thoughts end up in my head. We have this ability to use language to make concepts travel and be decoded in our brain, but not only in a fixed sense like monkey, danger, eagle, tiger. We can combine it and we can create also abstract concepts like love and devotion and hate, etc. So what is grammar? Grammar, as we said, is part of this amazing language ability that we have. And for many people, language ability is almost identical to grammar, but that's not really true. Over 2,500 years, people have been analyzing grammar. Apart from religion, grammar is one of the most analyzed things and most studied things in the history of human civilization. And over that period of time, there were many definitions. So I don't have to bore you with what it meant in Greek, but in Greek, it was actually about how to draw properly, how to actually express properly. But if you go outside, if you look, for example, outside the ancient domain, you will hear these definitions that it's a study of how words and their components combine and form sentences. Another definition is study of structural relationship in a language or in a language, sometimes including pronunciation, linguistic meaning, and linguistic history. The system of inflection, syntax, and word formation in a language. The system of rules implicit in a language views as a mechanism for generating all sentences possible in that language. A normative or prescriptive set of rules, etc. The rules of the language, how sentences are formed, how are inflected. The question is, which one of these definitions is the best one? And actually, there is no, let's say, perfect definition among these. Why? Because it seems that we are constantly mixing syntax and grammar. Did you notice that many of these definitions occasionally mention syntax, structuring the sentence, etc. So many people consider grammar and syntax synonymical, that they are the same words, and they seem to be, at least if not identical, that's maybe similar. But if you check it in the dictionary, like the mother of all dictionaries, Oxford English Dictionary, you will see that grammar is actually an order. Sorry, you cannot see it here, but it actually says here. Oh my God, I can't find the definition. Oh my God. Okay, I can find the definition. I took the wrong the wrong screenshot, but let's say it's the forms of language, whereas syntax is actually orderly or systemic arrangement of parts or elements, constitution, how you connect things in a proper order. So you have to understand, and this is part of this, memory secretion versus honey, versus milk, and insect vomit versus honey that I showed you at the beginning. The system of a language right now, according to most theories, consists of three things: phonology, how you pronounce something; accidence, which is a very fancy word for morphology, how you take love, ER, and create a lover, how you take print, add ER, create printer, how you take web and log and create blog. So that's for accidents. And finally, how you actually combine these words and pronounce them so that they form good sentences, and that's syntax. So syntax and grammar are not really identical. You should not, let's say, confuse them. Syntax is more narrower than grammar, and grammar usually implies elements of phonology and morphology. So I will skip some slides, but what is really important is that in this course, because you will have phonology and phonetics as separate courses, we treat grammar as syntax, how you form sentences, and morphology, how you add inflections. And this is called morphosyntax. So in this course, we will be dealing with morphosyntax. So we will be dealing with the parts of the language system that form sentences and form proper words inside sentences. So you cannot say, I don't know, amazing beautiful. You have to say amazingly beautiful. That's part of the morphology, but that's also syntax. That's why it's morphosyntax. So it's actually a combines morphology and syntax, and this is exactly what I told you. So actually, I don't have to go through this slide. I can just pose you the next question and that is that based on my understand or my effort to this now explain this, do you still understand what is grammar in the sense of what it does? I feel that I still have to explain what grammar really is. And let's start with a big question to get there. And to get there, the big question is, for example, do you know what GRU is using here? Does anybody know what this musical instrument is?
Is it a guitar or something?
Wow, I am blown away. It's the guitar. Yes, it's another example of morphology. You have a guitar and you have a keyboard. But if you blend them together, you get a guitar. So I don't know if you notice in my background, but I have many synthesizers, Korg, etc. But I also have a guitar. This is from 1984, vintage, worth more than 200 euros. Was played by, for example, Modern Talking and Eurythmics. Let me ask you, if I start playing something, sorry. If I start playing a tune, I don't know if you hear me. You probably hear it. Okay, so if I start playing, was it okay? No, because the right melody is... It's okay, sorry, I'm making a mistake because this is not an ergonomic position, but it should be. And did you notice mistakes? Right? You notice mistakes, but how do you know? You could say, okay, I know that tune. That's Take On Me by Aha, the best video of all times. I heard it in many movies, from La La Land to Avengers. It's everywhere. But if I start playing another tune that you maybe didn't hear, you probably didn't like the ending. But now if I ask you why it's wrong, would you be able to tell me? Why did it sound so bad? If you try to say why it sounded so bad, okay, Tanya, please. Why did it sound so bad? Tanya, unmute yourself, or Dunya can unmute if Tanya is having issues.
Yeah, what I said is that we miss the harmony in the sound. So, I don't know, probably comes from intuition.
Aha! That's it. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at. So if I'm an alien and you have to explain to me why it was not harmonious, then you would have to go on and say, there are 12 notes, and in a particular timbre, those notes are harmonious only if you follow these rules. So if the pitch is not the same and he played that pitch, and it takes minutes or even hours to explain why that happened. And the keyword that you said there is perfect, spot on, intuitive. So you do it without thinking. So when you hear an instrument, somebody plays it, he or she makes a mistake, you know it, you just know it, you don't think about it, you don't analyze in details. Or, for example, if I start playing something like this, you want the end, right? You know that there is something missing. And The issue there is that you just know it because you are not tone deaf. Nobody in the world is tone deaf. We all know what harmony is. If everybody ever told you that you're tone deaf, you're not. We all have this music ability in our mind to listen and understand and comprehend music and feel the emotions by music. But we do it subconsciously. Our brain analyzes thousands of frequencies in a minute to give us this emotional charge of music. And if you do it in a language, you will see that grammar is actually like that. Most of you are native speakers of Serbian. And then if I tell you, okay, dečak je kupila litru mleka, you probably are giggling and saying, ah, stupid, doesn't sound, native-like. But now if I ask you why that is wrong, it takes time, right? You have to explain. If you are teaching somebody who's English native speaker, you have to say, oh, you see, actually, dečak is masculine and feminine in Serbian. The subject and the verb have to agree also in gender, not only number. And then you get to ona želi on otići. And now it's getting even more difficult to explain why this is wrong, because in English, this is possible. She wants him to leave, right? And then you have to explain how case marking works in subordinate clauses. Kako ekskurzija prošla, jeli? You have to explain the word order. Koga ko tvrdiš da je istukao, maybe it's okay, but it sounds weird. But then, when you go to English, which is not your native tongue, and you look at the sentence they want to leave, you are no longer giggling. You are now saying, this is wrong because the S is not necessary there. Or he was seriously injured, so he was taken to the hospital. If you like British English, you would say, this is terrible. This is what Americans would do to the beauty of the language of Shakespeare. There should be no the in front of hospital in proper English. But if you're an American, that's perfectly okay. And then here, neither John and his colleagues nor Mary, you have to say knows the answer, because in neither or construction, the verb always agrees with the last element, in this case, Mary. So you didn't see it on the screen. Or then what, who, bought, okay, this is not proper English word order. But what I'm trying to say, you see, your native grammar is automatic. You know immediately that it's wrong, but you cannot explain easily why it's wrong. The grammar that you learned, like English, you know that it's wrong again, but you can very easily understand why it's wrong because you know the rules. So there are two different grammars in a way. There is your native grammar that's automatic, no thinking, instantaneous. And there's this learned grammar, which is like an acquired ability, and it's constantly, consciously, and partially subconsciously analyzing foreign language. And let's test your actually general grammar abilities. So if you see the famous sentence, Carol's green ideas sleep furiously, do you like it? Tanya, you're still raising your hand. I only saw it now. Do you like the sentence, or somebody else? Do you know this sentence? Anybody? Okay, Tanya, feel free.
I cannot see the sentence, sorry.
Okay, sorry. There's a delay in my presentation. Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. What is it? Is it okay? Anybody? Okay, Nadia. Tanya has already said something. Nadia, maybe you can unmute yourself.
At first glance, it doesn't make any sense, but I kind of like the sentence because it goes well together.
It's a wonderful sentence that has no meaning whatsoever. It's perfectly grammatical and also perfectly meaningless. Exactly. Somebody else wanted to say something, but do you maybe just agree with Nadia's assessment? I guess so. And that's actually what I'm trying now to show you. So grammar as a part of a language system is not necessarily always in harmony with those other parts. So you can have a sentence that's fully grammatical. Carlos Green ideas sleep furiously, but it has no meaning. Then, for example, look at this sentence. The Varangian Binks glorfed the Knepabur. You probably have no idea what Varangian Binks is, what the Knepabur is, what glorfed means. But if I ask you, which one would you rather be? The Varangian Binks or the Knepabur? Which one would you rather be?
Binks.
The Binks, right? Because we think that Binks probably ate or killed Knepabur. So you see, this is the interplay of meaning, morphology, and syntax. So the Varangian Binks sounds English. It's good, right? And then you try to deduce the meaning. So morphology and syntax are okay, and you are actually, your brain is trying to use knowledge to create meaning out of this sentence. But if you, so you see that syntax and meaning, which is officially called semantics, they constantly interact. So something can be meaningless but grammatical. Something can be, you know, not entirely meaningless but sounds okay in terms of rules, so I can interpret it, and I know that I want not to be glorfed. I want to be the Varangian Binks. But if you get a sentence such as the Grumnaberb has rugskren the poor krungium quiz, that sounds grammatical, but now morphology and phonology are not okay. There are no words in English that have these consonant clusters like Grumnaberb, rugskren, krunkims. So the whole idea of these slides is that, you know, grammar is just one part of the story. Who bought is ungrammatical, but you understand what it means. If you say shapeless circular cube see him ferociously, it's grammatical, but we cannot understand what it's supposed to mean, so it's meaningless. So ungrammaticality can sometimes lead to meaning. You know, me like books. You understand it, but it's not grammatical. This is grammatical, but it has no meaning. The Varangian Binks is grammatical, but we don't know the words, although they do sound English. And here it's grammatical in the last sentence, but we cannot understand it because the words do not sound English at all. And this is actually where you see all the components of language and how they play with grammar together. So who bought, it's the problem is grammar. Shapeless circular cubes, the problem is meaning. The Varangian Binks, the problem is vocabulary. And in the last sentence, the problem is both vocabulary and phonology. And you remember, I told you, this is actually the system of language. Grammar in terms of syntax, morphology, this is actually vocabulary, how you form new words. Meaning, which we didn't mention, that's how you understand everything. And phonology, how you pronounce it. By the way, the only difference between Serbian and English, if you think about it, if I go back to that slide with Jimmy Kimmel and Matt Damon, the only difference between English and Serbian fundamentally is that we say jabuka instead of apple, but in your mind, the apple is still the same, right? We say jesti, in English you say eat, but in your mind, it's still the same. This is universal for all languages. So, but we will be, of course, studying only the English grammar. I'm just trying to tell you that these underlying principles are actually very similar all over the world. So, no, not that one. That's a nasty one. So what I was actually trying to tell you, and I hope that now we are all on the same page, language is a modular system. So you have phonology, you have syntax, how you combine words in a sentence. You have semantics, their meaning. You have morphology, how you add suffixes to roots to form words, which you then build into sentences. And finally, you have probably vocabulary, which is the part where you map those concepts to words. And actually, I can prove to you, you can say, okay, Kavgic, you're so full of whatever, you know, Wolf of Wall Street was talking about. You're full of that stuff. How do we know that this is really the case? Well, you can know that this is the case because if one of these systems fails to perform, the sentence is not okay. Let me show you. I have a couple of slides that I wanted to show you. For example, this one. This is a very unfortunate, let's say, person. This is a patient suffering from Broca's aphasia. That's actually damage to the brain that causes, you will see what it causes if I manage to play the video. And I'm not sure that I will be able to do it because my mouse is misbehaving. Okay. So I'm not sure now if you will hear it. If you cannot hear it, then it's a problem, but I hope you will be able to hear it. Where is my mouse? Okay. Okay, doesn't work. Maybe here. Okay, technology has failed us, but what happens, I can explain to you. So part of his brain was damaged that's in charge of language, but not the whole part of the brain is damaged. Only part of this language area of brain is damaged. So she asked him, the interview asking this person to count to 10. And he says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then the lady says, okay, since you're so good at this, how about we go to 20? And then he's 11, 12, 13, 14, and then he loses it. Why? Because in his brain, and then, you know, when you ask him, like, how's he doing? He says, tada, tada, tada. What did you have for breakfast? Tada, tada, tada. It's everything is tada. And if you ask him to write his answers, he writes in perfect English. Why? Because only his phonology is damaged. He can actually he has full morphology, he has meaning, he has vocabulary, syntax. He cannot just articulate words. Why can he say 1 to 10? The same reason why parrots can swear in zoo parks. I don't know if you watch the news, but there are very rude parrots in a British zoo that constantly say the F word. So you learn these numbers when you're a kid, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then when you have to use the system, it no longer works because you didn't memorize it when you were a kid. So this, for example, is a perfect evidence for for what I was telling you about, that English and all other languages are modular. So you have unfortunate examples like this poor old guy who have brain damage that only damages one part of it. And let me show you another thing. I don't know if this is going to work now. I'm becoming pessimistic. Can you just look at this guy, and then I will again ask somebody to tell me what you heard. So look at him carefully. He's not too pleasant a sight, but just look at him and tell me what you hear, if it works. Oh my God. Okay. Sorry, guys, for some reason, all my animations don't work, but they 15 minutes before the presentation. So I have to assume that this has something to do with streaming. I will try to fix this, and then I will also do my best to upload these videos, and I will do the edits on oh my god, that will take some time. I will have to do edits on YouTube when I upload it, but you will hear it. So this is called McGurk effect. Let me try to see if I can actually find it on YouTube. You cannot see my screen now, but I'm actually actively searching for it on YouTube when I find my cursor, which is not an easy task. Okay, so has anybody heard about the McGurk effect? Okay. Okay, now I have it. Let's see if this is going to work. Let me just share my screen. A different one this time. So you should be able to see my YouTube. Can you see it?
Nope.
Nope.
Yep.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I can see it.
Okay.
Yes, now.
I
Yeah.
can see too.
It took some time.
Yeah, I can see.
Now, please listen to this guy. Okay, did you hear him? Did it work? Did the audio work, Radovan?
No.
I could not hear a thing.
No, we.
Okay, yeah, that's probably the main reason. So for some reason, we cannot stream audio from the system. You can only hear what I'm talking into a microphone. Okay, so then I will share this link with you in the chat session, so it's there with everybody. And then you can take a look at it afterwards. I don't want to spoil it for you, but this actually shows you that language interacts with our vision, and that actually what you see influences how you hear. I don't want to spoil for you, but it's really amazing. And even if you know what's happening, you cannot resist it. You fall prey to this McGurk effect. Okay, I'll tell you, but then you can test it for yourself. So the guy seems to be saying pa, ba, fa, ta. So different, consonant clusters. But what they did is they doctored the video. He's not really saying pa, fa, da, tha, fu. He's actually constantly saying pa, 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 pa. But they actually added this audio to the video where he's seemingly pronouncing tha, da, ba, fa, etc. And your brain doesn't listen. Your brain actually then switches to the mouth movements, and although you actually hear pa, when you close your eyes, you hear only pa. Your brain ignores what it hears and keeps looking at the mouth movements. And that actually, according to some people, is an evidence that our language originally was not verbal, that we initially communicated with signs. And you know that children who, for example, end up in a jungle living together without parents, I mean, just two kids, they usually don't develop the sound language, they develop a sign language. So that's an interesting thing, but okay, unfortunately, the lecture will then be a little bit shorter because now I know that none of my videos works. So I will have to skip some of the slides. and I will try to fix this for the next time. I don't know why that happened. So, in other words, you know, we actually have evidence. That's what I wanted to show you with these clips. We have evidence that your mind is really modular, and that the language and grammar inside language are just components of our overall language ability. And before we actually define the sentence and analyze the basic elements of the sentence, I just wanted to draw your attention to one other thing, and that's what grammar we will be analyzing in the first place. So please take a look at this slide and keep looking at it. Just keep looking at it. Continue looking. Ah, you cannot see it. Okay, sorry. Here's the slide. Please take a look at it and keep looking at it. You probably know this. After 10 seconds of looking at it, I'm pretty sure that you are not sure whether this cube is going in the bottom direction or in the top direction. Am I right? Do you all see it? That somehow your brain...
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. This is amazing. This is called the Necker cube. So this is a cube that allows your brain to analyze it in two ways. It can be either going in the lower direction or to the bottom left of the screen, or to the top right of the screen. Both of those interpretations are valid, and that's why your brain after a couple of seconds says, oh, maybe it's actually in the opposite direction, and it gives you a different interpretation. The same applies to language and grammar. There is no single grammar. There are very often multiple grammars. For example, it is grammatical to say, I'm not doing nothing. You would say it's not grammatical, but in African American, it's perfectly okay. For example, I cannot play you the video, but I have a clip of William, or if that's what he's pronounced, actually saying exactly that thing. Normally also you say he's old. Then for comparative you say he's even older. And for the final superlative you say she's the oldest of them all. But actually, if you go to the same video, you will hear Jeremy Clarkson, the host of Top Gear from 10 years ago, say, I am more older than he is. So here, the rules are bent. The rules are even broken. You can also have, for example, sentences like he may be old, he must be old, he could be old, he might be old. You always have to have one modal verb. So it is not grammatical to say he might, could be old. But then you go to Cowboys versus Aliens with James Craig, and in that video, you will hear, again, I cannot play it back, I don't even try, he says, like, he might be worth bounty money. And he said, he might, could be. So there are many, deviations from what you would consider standard grammar. Or if you like Game of Thrones, not everyone who spoke you friendly was really your friend. This is completely ungrammatical because friendly cannot be an adverb. Look it up in the dictionary. Friendly is only an adjective. So you should say friendlily. Ira Stark should have said, not everyone who spoke you friendlily was really your friend. But she bent the rules and she used an adjective like an adverb. So there are different grammars of English where he ain't done nothing wrong is okay. Where I'm gonna leave is okay. Where he's the man is okay. Or bro, we was rubbed is also okay. but those English grammars are considered the variety, like that Necker cube. They are based on the same pattern, but they are slightly different. So, but we will not be analyzing all of them, because you would never wear your swimsuit when you go to the church, and you would never say ain't if you're speaking to, let's say, Barack Obama or Joe Biden. So we will study the standard variety. We will not study these substandard colloquial varieties. It's always true that you can say he could be worth bounty money, but you shouldn't say it. So in this course, we will be focused on how you should speak if you want to come off as and you impression of a very smart, highly educated person who is very, good at what he or she does and earns and should be given a lot of money because you're an expert in what you're doing, and that's language. So we will be using only standard language because it's acceptable in all contexts. Other forms of language are not acceptable in all contexts, so that's why we are trying to aim for something universal. So you have it here as a balloon, and that's the end of digression. So in the last half an hour, we will, now that we fully understand that grammar is actually what is fancy, what is, let's say, scientifically called morphosyntax. So grammar is a part of this language system that creates sentences and adds right suffixes to roots to form correct words and forms. So knowing gets built from know, knows gets built from know, like with the S becomes likes, etc. We have to understand what the sentence is. So syntax operates on sentences. Syntax, as a part of morphosyntax, creates proper sentences. So we have to ask ourselves, okay, we understand that, but what is a sentence? We have to define these crucial terms. So a sentence can be something as simple as yes. Can be like, would you like the red one or the blue one? And you say, whatever. A sentence can be something like, run, or John vanished, or John kissed Mary on the cheek. Or a sentence can be, the dusty old picture of Lenin, awkwardly placed in a very conspicuous place in the president's office, has been damaged by an unknown person, which is just a polite way of saying that somebody got sick and tired of looking at the guy and decided to do something about it. Obviously, sentences come in different shapes and forms. I think there's a delay in how my slides are shown to you, but this is the sentence which I just pronounced. It was on my screen, but it seems that it was not in the stream. So sentences are also things like, okay, then I guess, like, see you around, I guess. Awkward endings of failed dates or something like that. A sentence could be also something like, you crazy? Man, you crazy? He did what? If you're really angry. But the sentence is this a sentence? This is an award-winning Academy Award-winning song from Beauty and the Beast. Tale as old as time, tune as old as song, bittersweet and strange, finding you can change, learning you were wrong, certain as the sun, rising in the east, tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast. This is not a sentence, but it won the Academy Award. It has no subject. You should say, this is a tale as old as time. This is a tune as old as song. This is a feeling that's bittersweet and strange. It's a finding you can change. It's a learning you were wrong. It's certain as the sun. But despite that, it won the Academy Award, although it's not really, if you follow like formal rules, it's not really a sentence. So obviously we have a problem there, because all of this has meaning. Some of these things actually are Academy Award winning songs, but they seem to be not always what we would consider a proper sentence. So in Serbian and most languages, you know that the definition of a sentence is niz reči koji izražava puno značenje, a string of words expressing a complete thought. If you're a scientist dealing with the computers, then it's actually completely different. It's a string of words between two full stops. That begins with a capital letter, unless you're chatting online where you don't follow the punctuation rules. Some would say it's a basic meaningful unit of language, but that could also be the word or the syllable or whatever. Some say it's a minimal language unit comprising a minimum sense of completeness that would like take care of cases like yes or whatever. Some say it's a minimal syntactic unit expressing the relationship of predication. And if you think about all these definitions, I will tell you that the one that you will be using in this course and at this faculty is the last one, a minimal syntactic unit expressing the relationship of predication. Let me say why. By the way, the key thing there is that it expresses the relationship of the predication. It doesn't have to have a visible marker of predication. So in other words, a sentence doesn't have to have a verb. Predicate is a verb. Sometimes when you say tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast, you can deduce the context. But in your mind, it reads like a full sentence. So why we do that? Because first of all, if you think about it as a string of words, why the definition is wrong. Students of English love grammar of English. That's a string of words. If you pronounce it like I just pronounce it, you know, it's bad, but if you think about, you know, it's just a string of words, then you could also change it. You could say English, love, students of grammar. But it's not just a sequence of words. Those words have to be ordered in a particular way. So that's why all the definitions that speak about, you know, sequences of words or something like that are wrong. But then, you know, also, if you have John kissed Mary, kiss John Mary, you also see this rule that the order is very important, how you actually put these words in a sequence. It has some internal structure that that is not simply like a simple sequence of words. The minimal syntactic unit expressing the relationship of predication, it's a good definition because it doesn't mention strings of words. And it also implies that every sentence has a predicate. So you remember what I told you about monkeys, and I had some videos that I couldn't show you because streaming doesn't work. But animals can express words. Monkeys can warn other monkeys that a tiger is approaching, that there's a snake approaching. They have words. And there are even very smart monkeys, apes actually, who know sign language. But the problem with all those mammals that have, let's say, communication abilities is that they cannot say a simple sentence. They can say monkey, they can say danger, but they cannot say we are in danger because a snake is coming. They can operate on one or two words, but they cannot create a sentence where those words are somehow bound together to form complex meaning. That's the predication. That's why we talk about predication. So, and then, as this is the, you know, the best definition of the sentence, let's try to, and this will be the final part of this class, which will be now, unfortunately, a bit shorter because I have more than 10 videos that I couldn't show you. but we still have, don't worry, we still have like 10 slides at least. Let's try to now analyze the sentence. And this is what we will be doing in the first practice class next week on Tuesday, for which you should have your workbooks, right? Remember, workbooks. Vežbanke, nabavite ih, fotokopirajte, printajte, šta god radite, samo nemojte da kradete. Znači, we will be analyzing the sentences in the basic way that stems from the age of ancient Greece and Aristotle. The first division of the sentence that you will now see is more than 2.5 millennia old, 2,500 years old way of analyzing a sentence. That's the very basics. But in order to get to that classification, what would be the most natural question to ask if you didn't hear the sentence, John kissed Mary? For example, I mispronounced it. You know, when Trump, for example, said like, and may God bless the United States of America. So if I pronounce it like John kissed Mary, you know, I don't pronounce it properly. You would normally ask like some of these things, right? Who did John kiss? What did John do to Mary? Who kissed Mary? Or John kissed who? Or maybe who was Mary kissed by? But they did some studies, and according to those studies, the most common question, if you mispronounce John kiss Mary, is who did John kiss? And the reason why this is the standard question is actually why we are doing this analysis in the first place. It turns out that every sentence, the minimal syntactic unit expressing the relationship of the predication, has two main parts, subject and the predicate. To imamo i u srpskom, subjekat I predikat. This is universal. It's universal because it's 2,500 years old, and we know that it works in all languages with some slight modifications. But notice what it's actually about. Subject is what you're talking about. That's old information. Predicate is what you say about subject. It's new information. So students of English, you are all students of English. That's known. That's why you are together here. Love grammar. I hope you love it. But that's new information. That's more important. That's why if you mispronounce the sentence, people always focus on the last part. Who did John kiss? John kissed Mary. So what is the end of the sentence? What's this final piece of new information? And you will see that if you write a story or something like that, you always start with what is known, and then you put something new at the end. Then in the next sentence, you start what is already known, and then you put something new. And this is why we analyze into subject and predicate, because this is the basic underlying structure of a sentence. So, for example, if you have this story to tell, it's about Jack and Bob, you could say, it's 12:16, Jack is in his office. Bob came to Jack's office. Bob asked Jack if he would like to go to lunch. Jack agreed. They went to the company canteen. Jack took some pasta. Bob took a pizza cut. And you see, everything at the beginning is what's already known, what's in the context. Everything that's red, that's the predication. The blue one is the subject. The red stuff is what's really new. That's the essence of your story. And that's why we do this analysis of sentences into subject and the predicate. So colors indicate old versus new information. So that's why next Tuesday, actually coming Tuesday, we will first start analyzing the sentence into the subject and the predicate. But since we are focused on English, we will actually include additional part of the analysis, and that is something called the operator. So inside the predicate, you have operator and predication. Let me try to explain why we split the predicate into operator and predication. John has seen a ghost. Mary will have done it by 9. Pat must have been dreaming. So John, Mary, Pat, they are subjects. Seen a ghost, have done it by 9, have been dreaming is the predication, whereas has, will, and must are operators. It may sound intuitive, like take the first verb and we say it's an operator, but why do we call it the operator? The reason why we call it the operator is that the operator allows you to transform how subject and predicate are connected. So subject, the old information, predicate, new information, but the operator actually allows you to create a question. So for example, instead of saying John has seen a ghost, you can say, has John seen a ghost? So you don't do it with the subject, you don't do it with the predication, you do it with the operator. You want to make the sentence negative. You don't say not John has seen a ghost. You don't say John has seen a ghost not. You say John hasn't seen a ghost. I on purpose pronounce it as a short form, hasn't, so that you can see that this not is attached to the operator. So that's why it's called the operator. It's actually what allows you to shift the sentence from being positive to being negative to being interrogative. And you will also use the operator in question tags, like John has seen a ghost, hasn't he, right? You don't say John has seen a ghost, see'n't he? So this is peculiar to the English language. In some other languages, there is no operator, but in every other language in the world, there is the subject and the predicate. This is the most universal classification there is. You cannot get more universal than that. So why is the operator important? The operator is important, as I said, because it allows you to transform sentences, but we also have to define it. What is the operator? The operator is the first auxiliary. He must have been dreaming, he mustn't have been dreaming, must he have been dreaming? But if the verb contains no auxiliary, if you don't have verbs such as must, have, do, be, will, then the operator is do. Do is like a ghost which appears out of nothing. And the fact that you have do in English is actually another evidence why we included operator in the analysis of English syntax. In other languages, you don't have the operator. When you say in Serbian, Marko voli pizzu, you don't need a new verb to ask da li Marko voli pizzu. You only need the question word. You don't need the new verb like be, have, do. So in English, that's not the case. There are historical reasons. It's an amazing story, but for historical linguistics. So you have this do. Do appears, and that's why we call it do support. The only, let's say, exception to this rule, so the operator is the first auxiliary, like he has been dreaming, has he been dreaming, he will start skiing, will he start skiing, or do support, like he loves cookies, does he love cookies. The only difference, let's say the only peculiar cases are the verbs to be and the verb to have, but only in British English. Be in all English varieties, have in British English. Let me explain. When you have a lexical verb to be, he's a student. You can say he isn't a student. You don't say, does he be a student? When you say, for example, we are tired, you don't say, we do not be tired. So the only verb that acts as the operator and the main verb, so it's both the operator and the part of the predication, is the verb be, but not be when you say he's running. Be when it's the main verb, when you say he's happy, he's sad, he's a doctor, we are students. So when the be is main verb, it can actually do the job of the operator. And this can also happen in British English with the verb have. Have a brother. If you're a member of the royalty or aristocracy in Britain, you can say, I haven't a brother. And you can say also as a question, have I a brother? This doesn't work in any other variety of English, and it's actually considered very posh and, stuck up to speak like that. Expected from royalty, the queen, and the aristocracy. Normal people don't speak like that, but it's actually possible. So why is that important? Again, it's important because this will also be in the practice classes, and this is the foundation of one of the topics in your midterm and the final exam. So you will be examined on this. But outside of that, it's actually crucial in language because in English, unlike other languages, it is the operator that allows you to create a negative sentence, he is running, he isn't running, to create interrogative sentence, he's running, is he running. The operator allows you to emphasize stuff, he loves her, he does love her. This is, again, the function of the operator. Avoiding repetition, only possible thanks to the operator. You say, she hopes that they will play a Mozart quartet, and they will play a Mozart quartet, very fancy sentence, but you can shorten it. She hopes they will play a Mozart quartet, and they will. Just the fact that you mention operator at the end, in your mind reads like they will play a Mozart quartet. And also the operator allows you to create question tags. I mentioned this already. He loves her, doesn't he? Nobody has called, haven't they? And on Tuesday, for this reason, we will start analyzing multiple sentences. This will be a warm-up exercise. We will do more than that. So we will analyze the sentence into the subject, like John, the operator, has, and the predication, given a merry kiss. And then we will also do transformation and see operator in action. And of course, when we run into a sentence such as John loves Mary, we will analyze it as the operator being do support. Why? Because if you don't have an auxiliary verb, do appears to support the transformation of the sentence. And before we quit, just a small, teaser for the next lecture. The next lecture will be really important, one of the central lectures for your course, because in that lecture, we will start introducing sentence elements. In what sense? We know that when you pronounce the sentence, students of English love grammar of English, you are supposed to pronounce it like this: students of English love grammar of English. You don't say students of English love grammar of English. You don't pronounce it like students of English love grammar of English, or students of English love grammar of English. Somehow you know where to make pauses, you know where to stop, and you know that this sentence is somehow organized internally. But this is beyond this basic subject versus predicate. So we will actually look at sentence elements. So we will look at the subject, but then we will look inside the predicate and see that there we have the verb. That's like in Serbian, to je glagolski deo predikata. Srpska lingvistika koristi ovu bazičnu podelu na subjekat i predikat. Ali u engleskom mi u stvari kažemo predicate, it's the old theory, we actually look inside the predicate and we say love is a verb. Verb as a sentence element, ne glagol kao vrsta reči. That's a verb as a sentence element, kao subjekt ili objekat. And then you know that there's also this third thing, students of English, love. What? What do they love? Grammar of English. That's the object of loving. So we will do this analysis and we will be analyzing on 2 levels. So we will be analyzing the subject and the predicate, which in Serbian is called tema and rema. We will analyze subject, verb, object, etc. So this is function. And towards the end of this unit, by the end of October, no, actually beginning of November, we will then look inside these elements and look at words and phrases. So this is what's actually ahead of us. Right now, we did this general basic classification. General meaning, you have the subject, you have the predicate. Subject is old information, theme, predicate is new information. Inside the predicate, there's the operator for negation, emphasis, questions, question tags. But then we will start dealing with subject, verb, object, adverbials, etc. And with that, we have 6 minutes remaining. So maybe if you have some questions now is a perfect time to raise your hand, unmute yourselves. Feel free. I don't bite. I cannot bite. Even if I try, it doesn't work. Okay. There's something called the 5-second rule. If there's silence for 5 seconds, that means that there's probably no additional questions. So in that case, I want to thank you all for joining. I want to apologize for maybe it's not my fault, but I feel obliged to apologize that I couldn't stream the videos. I will try to investigate why that happened, because the videos work when I'm not streaming. So it's probably something with Microsoft Teams. I will upload the recording of this session to YouTube, and it will be hyperlinked to our website, which you remember. I can actually show you once more the address on the screen. So it will all, the links will be here. And I also want to apologize. In the beginning, I was a bit frustrated, but this is the first time I'm using Microsoft Teams, and I really didn't know that I had to approve everybody individually into the lecture. So please, for me, it's frustrating because I have to, multitask, which is suboptimal. From you, just try to join between 10:30 and 10:35, and then I can admit you all. Dunja, please feel free to ask. You raise your hand.
Okay, so my question is, why aren't all the professors using the same platform? I mean, if you, for example, used Zoom, you wouldn't have to accept everyone manually. You could do that with one button, I guess.
Okay, there are 2 reasons why we are not using Zoom. First of all, Zoom is limited to 45 minutes before you have to reconnect if you're not paying. We are not paying because we are financially challenged. You can get a freebie from Zoom. So sometimes if you are using Zoom, you know that sometimes it will say after 45 minutes, here's one on us. Enjoy your long conference call. But that doesn't happen often. So very often, actually more often than not, if you're not paying, Zoom will disconnect after 45 minutes. So that's the reason why we're not using Zoom. What we could be using is Google Meet. But the problem is that I am happy to switch to Google Meet because I have a way to make Google Meet play audio. I know a trick there that should still work. but Google Meet is limited currently to 100 attendees, and officially there are 125 of you. So since I am not, supposed to hope that not all of you show up, although not all of you showed up. Of course, I'm not addressing people who are not here. You all showed up, and thank you for that. But that's why we switched to Microsoft Teams, because it has a limit of 9,999 attendees. Another problem with Google Meet is that we are not paying for Google Meet. So we are using Google apps for education, but we are an educational institution in the low income country, and we don't pay for Google apps for schools. But starting from October, Google stopped the functionality of Google Meet recordings up until October, and it's still possible, but it will not be possible in November. I will not be able to automatically record this. I would have to use like a screenshot grabber, but since I'm constantly switching screens, you see, it could cause some issues, and you may end up with a recording, if I make a blunder, with a recording that doesn't contain the right screen. So that's the problem with Google Meet. And there are many other platforms, but the bottom line is we don't want to, or we cannot pay for for it. What are other professors using, Dunja?
Well, we still haven't had lectures, so I'm gonna go. But there's English literature. It's in Discord, and I don't know. One professor had her lecture like a textually. I don't remember what's the platform, but it's just us typing things, which I don't think is very practical. It was entertaining though, but yeah, I'm not sure. I guess I don't know. I just
wow, Discord is really cool. Maybe we can switch.
Yeah, that's also that's also what I wanted to mention, but I'm not sure about how many students can be accepted, so I don't know, but I just wanted to ask.
With Discord, I think that there is also no limit. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Of course.
So I think Discord would be a better alternative because it's free. You can stream, and there is an unlimited amount of people that can join the calls. And you can also make as many channels as you want. And the second question I wanted to ask, can you sing for us on your guitar, if that's possible?
No. We are running out of time, and I'm not in the tape. But I can upload something later. I will.
Okay.
There's a problem with the guitar. So my belt is broken. I cannot hang it, so I cannot. I have to make a lot of effort to hold it in this position. But yeah, I will try to do something else with the other synths. So okay, I will actually then explore the Discord. I know the only issue with Discord is, just tell me, we don't have to make it a public stream.
No, we don't.
Because I don't want, weird people joining.
Yeah, you can make a private invite and send it to us via mail, and then we can all join. And when we're all in call, you can just stream your screen just like you did here, and yeah, you can also record it and then just post it in the same channel.
Okay, who records it, me or Discord?
You.
Okay, cool. I mean, I know that it's used for gaming, and I watched some streams on Discord, but I never actually organized a Discord streaming session. So no issues there. I will then, if you like Discord, I want to learn something new, I'm perfectly happy.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to new things, and it's free.
Yeah, it's free, and it's a lot less laggy, and it's more optimal and clean. So yeah.
Okay, we'll follow the trailblazing idea of our literature professors and switch to Discord. Great. If everybody agrees, but it seems that you are happy with Discord, right?
Yeah, Discord is amazing.
It's way easier.
Okay. So I'm really happy that we have this conversation, because after all, this is about you and making sure that, you know, it fits primarily. I mean, I can stream using whichever platform I can come by, but it doesn't mean that it will be a good choice. So I'm really thankful for this. So I will organize everything, and then we can clarify maybe some details on Tuesday when we meet face to face, and next week we see ourselves on Discord. In the meantime, as I promised, I will upload this to YouTube, and that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, and the guitar song as well, please. Thank you.
Yeah. I will. Namaste. Okay. Thank you all. Bye.
Have a good one.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.